The night Judith collapsed on the cold kitchen floor, clutching her chest and gasping for air, Naomi stood frozen and did nothing. For 3 long seconds, she just watched. Judith Harris had always believed that kindness could soften any heart. She carried herself gently, spoke softly, and treated people with patience, even when patience cost her peace. She was adopted at 3 years old, but she never once made anyone feel the difference. She called Margaret Harris Mum with a full heart and meant it every time. Naomi Harris was different. She was sharp. Her words cut quickly. Her silence cut deeper. She had her mother's blood, her father's eyes, and a bitterness that seemed to grow with age. Where Judith bent, Naomi resisted. Where Judith forgave, Naomi remembered and resented. And yet, Margaret loved them both. Judith joined the Harris family after a quiet tragedy. Her biological parents had died in a car accident. Margaret had taken her in without hesitation. Naomi had been 6 then, old enough to understand what adopted meant. At first, she tried to like Judith. She really had. But every time their mother brushed Judith's hair or praised her good manners, Naomi felt something tighten inside her chest. She's not even yours, Naomi thought. Why do you love her like me? Margaret never saw the jealousy growing behind Naomi's smiles. Judith grew into a gentle woman, quietly brilliant, emotionally intelligent, always putting others first. Teachers loved her. Neighbors trusted her. Friends leaned on her. Naomi grew into a storm. She was smart, ambitious, and deeply insecure. She hated that people described Judith as sweet and easy to love. Naomi worked harder for attention, yet somehow always felt second. And the worst part, their mother never chose sides. When Naomi snapped at Judith, Margaret would say, "Naomi, be kind. Judith is your sister." When Judith apologized for things she didn't do, Margaret would pull her close and whisper, "You have such a good heart." To Naomi, it felt like praise and punishment wrapped in the same breath. She mocked Judith's job as a social worker. She reminded Judith casually, cruelly, that she was adopted. "You're lucky Mom took you in," Naomi would say with a smile. Judith would smile back. "I know." The night everything almost ended, Judith had confronted Naomi gently about missing money from their mother's purse. Naomi exploded. "You always want to play the saint," she snapped. "And you always want to hurt me," Judith replied, softly but firmly. The words hit Naomi harder than expected. Moments later, Judith collapsed. A panic attack, severe. Her body shut down under years of silent stress. And Naomi stood there, watching. She didn't know why she froze. Fear? Guilt? Shock? By the time she moved, Judith was already unconscious. At the hospital, Margaret wept uncontrollably. The doctor explained that Judith had been under intense emotional strain for years. Margaret turned to Naomi. "What have you been doing to your sister?" The question shattered something in Naomi. For the first time, she saw herself clearly not as the overlooked daughter, but as the one causing the pain. Judith survived, but the silence between the sisters grew heavy. Days later, Naomi sat beside Judith's hospital bed. "I hated you," Naomi admitted, voice breaking. "Not because you were adopted, but because Mum loved you as much as me." Judith opened her eyes slowly. "I never wanted to replace you," she whispered. "I just wanted to belong." Naomi cried silently. Healing didn't erase the past, but it softened it. Naomi went to therapy. She apologized truly. She learned to sit with her jealousy instead of weaponizing it. Judith learned something too, that kindness doesn't mean enduring abuse. They rebuilt carefully. Slow conversations, honest boundaries, shared memories. Margaret watched her daughters grow into sisters at last. Months later, on Judith's birthday, Naomi hugged her tightly. "Thank you," Naomi whispered, "for staying. Even when I didn't deserve you." Judith smiled. "Family isn't about blood," she said. "It's about choosing love, especially when it's hard." And for the first time, Naomi chose it too.